Hi, I'm Tim, and this is a real ideal review of the Seiko Samurai dive watch. In this review, I'll be evaluating the everyday use of this watch, which is commonly referred to as an everyday user or an everyday watch. It is a dive watch, which certainly gives it some great water-resistant capability, but it's also, I think, in the category of an everyday use watch, and we're going to put it through the everyday use gauntlet. Some of the things that I use on an everyday basis in my lawn care company is power tools such as trimmers, mowers, and blowers, chainsaws, things like that. So I will be doing a number of evaluations before and after the use of those power tools and fitment, size, accuracy, loom, all those things we'll go through, and we'll have a score at the very end. So let's get started with size. This is a big watch. It's a chunky watch. It's a square-shaped watch. The lug-to-lug distance versus the diameter of the watch, from basically the 830 to 230 measurement, is really pretty square. So as far as fitment goes, it fits on the wrist really well for me. I would say a person with a small wrist might have a harder time with this watch. But the weight was my concern when I first opened the box and got this watch fitted to my wrist, and that was how top heavy is this watch when I'm active? When I'm moving around and I'm using the power tools or lifting and putting wood away, things like that, how much movement does this watch have on my wrist? And I found that when I was more active like that, the size of my wrist would get larger, and the adjustment that I was able to make on the bracelet was perfect. It had just enough snug to keep the watch, and the wrist snug together. And when I sat down, relaxed, there was enough play in the watch, but not too much, and so I think the fitment ended up turning out just fine. The concern I have, though, is that there's only 3 micro adjusts on the clasp, and of those 3, one of them's in use, so really you only have 2 other options when it comes to the micro adjust. So this is a concern. It happens to work for me, but I think there will be concerns for other people with different size wrists in the future. Accuracy before and after, no noticeable difference between the before and after. When I measured several days of use and put on the time grapher, no increased error, no increase in seconds per day or decrease in seconds per day. So that all turned out really well. The finish, I like the steel finish, the brushed steel finish, great for scratches and dings. The big negative really is the crystal. The crystal is not a sapphire crystal, and anything less than or not a sapphire crystal is a concern for me, because over time it's going to get and collect scratches, and it's just another thing that you have to maintain, and it's just a pain. So that's a concern. It's a ding for me on this watch, is not having a sapphire crystal. I'll be looking down the line at getting a sapphire crystal, probably put one in after I put this through the paces and see what kind of scratches it collects. But that's really one place when it comes to reading the time. You just don't want to have distractions when it comes to reading the time. The case, the bracelet, yeah, you get dings and scratches, but that doesn't involve reading the time. So that's an area that I have a concern with. The loom is outstanding. The loom is classic Seiko loom and often measured as the standard for other watch brands. And this is no different. The loom on this watch is fantastic. And how I measure loom isn't how bright it is when you first put light on the loom. It's how bright and how readable that loom is, that watch face is, say at 5 o'clock in the morning. When it gets dark, and it's been dark for several hours, what does it look like when you open your eyes in the early morning hours? And this watch does a fantastic job. So overall, a 7.5 out of 10. Dings for the micro adjust, the crystal. And one last thing, the bezel, kind of soft and squishy. That's a constant with Seiko, but it's one of those things that I also ding it as well. Great watch. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you next time.